All right, so for segment 1 today, we're going to continue on talking about Dragonbane. Getting a lot of good response to this. Got an interesting comment that we'll talk about in this episode as well, because I think it bears being brought up probably before we even get into the rules. Just get an idea of what we're doing here with this series and with all of our series, to be honest with you. But today, this video specifically is going to be about the skills. There, actually, for the User Engine game, there are quite a few of them, but I don't know what they all are. I don't know how they all work. We're learning this game with you, and look forward to taking. Wow, I cannot talk. I look forward to talking to you about that in just a moment. Role-playing games thrive in fantastic worlds and at inclusive tables that embrace these core values for the most positive gaming experience. Donate to the Wounded Warrior Project via the link in the description below to help, honor, and empower our wounded heroes. On Thursdays and Saturdays, watch Heathen Dog's Dirty Casuals play multiplayer video games over on Twitch. On Sundays and Fridays, join us for tabletop role-playing game content on both YouTube and Rumble. Finally, please take a quick moment to like this video and share it with both your friends and on social media. If you have not done so, please subscribe to Legion of Myth and activate that bell icon to receive notifications of new content. All right, there you go. There's the upside-down duck. He's not really upside down. It looks like he's jumping off that bridge or archway, whatever, or just jumping or flying or doing whatever ducks do in the game.
Whatever. I don't like the picture. Yeah.
I mean, it's thematic of the game. All the pictures generally look like that. So, but yeah, I do feel the same way, that it feels like it is upside down. But if you look at all the art, it's just, that's the theme of the game. You know what it reminds me of? This actually reminds me of 3rd edition art, D&D 3rd edition art. And you know, I hated D&D 3rd edition art. But for a niche game, it doesn't bug me so much. But after Elmore, Parkinson, Easley, and Caldwell, you can't dumb it down to stuff like this. Anyway, I said we were going to probably look at a comment first. Let me go get that comment now that I think about it. I wasn't sure when I wanted to do this, but and boop. And I'll just read it. I'm not going to put it on the screen.
Better than Mexican. Well, while you're finding that, I'm going to do this. Better than Mexican orcs. Yes. Okay. I saw that for in 5e. They have a new book. I forget which book it was.
It's the 6e game. It's D&D 2024.
60, sorry. I saw the artwork for it, and the orcs are no longer green. They're kind of like Mexican or Middle Eastern complexion. Humans with big teeth. That's basically it. And I'm like,
wearing sombreros and
yeah. He even had something that looked like a sombrero, right? So I'm like, oh my God. You know, what the hell are they doing now? Yeah, I mean, Max said, you know, a while ago that 5e was just becoming, you know, demi-human cosplay. Everyone's a human except for the, you know, skin they wear. And apparently 6e is like, screw it, let's just turn into the skid. You know? Okay. God.
All right, well,
no monsters anymore.
Back on Dragonbane now. So here's the comment that we got. One thing I don't like was both your reaction at the quote-unquote the teacher rule. You read the first 2 sentences and get raged and ignore the rest of the mechanic. I don't think we actually ignored the rest of the mechanic, although to be fair, by that point, we were kind of speeding up because that segment was getting a bit... Actually, okay. That segment felt longer than it was. I thought it was 2 hours. It was only an hour and a half. Yeah. So the rest of me, yes, the characters waste only 6 hours in some sort of payment, but the character must make the same check to raise the skill as normally after a game session. By the way, this dude's English isn't the greatest. I don't know if it's not his first language or if he's just rage typing, but so right now we've got the point. Do you remember Heathen Dog that you raise it at the end of a session? If you used it, you raise the skill, and then, you know, it takes 6 hours, the shift, yada, yada, right? And then there was that teacher rule where you could learn that way as well. In this case, it could happen that the character could once raise the skill in the game session and not after the session. Got it? If the character fails, he wastes time, does he? And what sort of payment, I guess? And same sort of payment. If he succeeded, he could not use a teacher again to raise the same skill. But you didn't mention that because you told us that a 6-hour time period is short and how a player could misuse that rule. Okay, yes. The only point of any of that made sense to me, what this guy was saying, was that Heathen Dog and I, and I'm not going to speak for him, but my understanding is we both have the same idea that training doesn't take 6 hours, it takes 6 months.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, 6 weeks to get the hang of it, right? I mean, if you can train a whole skill point or equivalent in 6 hours, that either says you're an absolute friggin' genius or the skill is absolute dog crap.
Yeah. So
like tying your shoes, like, you know, if an adult can master tying shoes in 6 hours, I could see that.
But that's also not a skill you find in most games.
No, and it's for a skill in a game, it's dog shit skill. That's what it is.
Right.
So
So
you know, why do you
the reason why I bring that up is sometimes I think people hear what they want to hear, and you know, you could say that I do the same thing on occasion, not what we're actually talking about. We weren't complaining. In fact, Heathen Dog and I think we both said we liked the Chaosium mechanic. That's what I'm calling it.
Like you have to use it successfully to you know, bring it up. I'm like, I get that, because you learn from failure, but you also learn from success, and I think you learn more from success. Just because you're the more you succeed, the more you remember how to succeed, especially with physical skill. It'll be like muscle memory. You know, you just get better at it because your body knows exactly how to move for a win, you know, stuff like that. So I get it. I like it. But this whole 6 hours thing, no, I'm not.
Right. The thing is you know, it's a game.
Yeah.
But what it does is, and this is the part, and this is just a verisimilitude thing. This has nothing to do. It is not a Dragonbane problem, and I'm not going to belabor the point for a half hour here. But it's not a Dragonbane problem. It's more of a modern game problem, where people don't want to deal with. Oh, so my character's out of action for 2 months. Yeah. This is how you get 20th level characters at age 20. That should never happen. Okay. Nope. So, you know, now all of a sudden, if it's taking you weeks and months to raise those skills, you know, imagine the courses you're taking for your degree, or the training you have to take, the OJT you have to do in order to actually learn how to become a journeyman plumber, you know, whatever. That isn't something that happens in a week, 6 hours a time.
Yeah.
So I watched a YouTube video. I'm a handyman now, right? No.
Plus, you know, yeah. Plus, having one character at a time, like take 2 weeks or a month or whatever to raise a skill. Everyone else can do background stuff. Everyone else can use that time with the game master to do stuff outside of the group. You know, like the thief can try and form a thieves guild. The fighter can start building on his keep, and the cleric can start making his little house of worship, stuff like that. You know, all that stuff can happen.
Getting some armor made.
Some armor made, yes. The blacksmith can make some armor, you know, and get that stuff done. That is not a 6 hour thing. You know, you want a sword, even a knife, that's going to take at least a week, right? It's crazy. So all this stuff can be done, so everyone's character can be enriched during this time, just in different ways. So,
Rodney, about it, you can learn how to play the game in 6 hours. Well, fair point. That's also not a skill that you have in the game. But to be fair, the reason I point this out is because, well, number one, wasn't dogging Dragonbane as if Dragonbane was the problem or the process that it had for the game. We were dogging the concept that a lot of modern games have. I mean, Earth Dawn, even, you literally raise your skills by attuning yourself to magic, yet you still had to get training.
Yeah, and it still takes weeks.
I forget what it takes in I think it was weeks. Skills themselves literally took weeks to months, depending on what rank you're going to. The magic side of it, the talents, not so much, but that's because you were binding yourself to the magic. But you still had to, I forget what it was. It's been a long time, but you still had to spend in a certain amount of time in training, and it wasn't 6 hours. So anyway. Any final comments you got on that? I don't want to beat this down. I want to kind of move forward here, but
I want to see some skills, man. I want to see how powerful these guys are.
I just ask that folks, you know, we're trying to promote the game and show it to you in the way that is here, but also provide our opinions and our experiences and so forth. This is the way the game's played, so we would play it the way the game's played. We just think it's silly. There we go. Silly that I just learned I'm now completely proficient with a battle axe because I spent 6 hours learning it. Like, good luck with that. All right, skills. Now, what did we talk about? One of the things we mentioned last week is that this game doesn't use the Year Zero engine. So we're not rolling a bunch of D6s anymore with base dice, skill dice, and gear dice. We're doing something different. So we're going to have to figure out how this works here. So let's look at rolling the dice. There are 30 core skills in total in the game, not counting secondary skills like the Schools of Magic. And they are all described later in this chapter. Now you heard Heathen Dog whistle in the background. Heathen Dog, were you thinking that was a lot of skills? Or
yeah, I mean, all other Year Zero type games or Year Zero games have between 14 and 16, 12 and 16, something like that, skills total.
Yeah. Okay.
And 30, that's double. I mean,
I think Coriolis has a few more, but the point, you're right. And the point, I was just curious if you're saying that as a whole or for Year Zero engine, because I was going to say Palladium has a lot more than 30.
Yeah, Palladium and Cassium, they have all those skills. Okay. Yeah, no, I'm talking about this, this developer.
Yep, and so we'll see how those 30 skills work. When using a skill, first describe what your player character is trying to achieve. Then, when the game master requests it, roll a d20. A result that is lower than or equal to your skill level means that your action succeeds. This is a roll low game. I know we mentioned it last week, but it's a roll low game. That's right. Somebody even made a comment that it's time to take some of those dice that are in Dice Prison out of Dice Prison and bring them to this game. In combat, your skill rolls often have specific effects. Outside of combat, the GM or the adventure you are playing determines the effects of the roll. What that means is that sometimes the adventure modules will have, hey, if you roll this is what happens. In a more sandboxy game or some side quest or whatever, the game master will determine what happens. That all makes sense. Rolling a dragon. I honestly didn't have my balls busted as much as I thought I was going to for saying the dice backward last week, where I mixed up the dragon and the demon.
Well, probably because we couldn't see it very well anyway on camera. So,
okay, good. Rolling a 1 on a d20 means that you're particularly successful. Remember, 1 is good. You're trying to roll low. This is called rolling a dragon. In combat, a dragon has specific effects, increasing the damage of an attack, for example. Outside of combat, the GM decides the effect. Some suggestions. You impress everyone around you. You achieve more than intended. The action is performed faster than usual. I'm going to stop on this for a second. Heathen Dog, that first one irks people sometimes. I impress everyone? Who cares? Whoa, what? I impress? No, I want a game effect. Can you give them a couple of
game effect? That is okay. Off top of my head example. You come into a town. There is a bully, in the town. You sees you. He's figure, I'm a big tough guy around these parts, and I'm gonna pick on him, and I'm gonna mug him.
Because we're muggers.
Because he's a mugger, so he's gonna mug you. You don't want to kill this guy in front of the whole town. You just got here, but you are an experienced warrior, so you leave your weapon sheathed, and you just humiliate the crap out of him by smacking him around a whole bunch. And you roll a dragon doing it. You humiliate this bully. You don't really hurt him. He runs away with his 2 little toadies. Now, not only have you proven that you are stronger than the bully that has probably bullied most of these people throughout their lives, but you did it in such a way that you made him look so small, and you didn't make him look like a victim by actually harming him. This is going to give you social interaction dice if you impress them. So buying stuff, getting an inn for the night, getting food at the tavern, whatever, this is going to run through the town like wildfire. Gossip. It's like, hey, you're the guy that beat up Butthole Billy. Yeah, drinks on me. Stuff like that. You're saving money, right? That's just off the top of my head.
Theoretically, you impress him as well. He might not come back and mug anybody anymore.
Or if he comes at you again and you kill him, Billy had it coming, right? I mean, he came back for seconds and you gave it to him. So
the idea, though, is that there are ancillary effects when it comes to impressing somebody around you that the game master needs to figure out. Does that mean you're going to get all your drinks for free? Maybe not. No. Maybe one round. Maybe now a quest opens up for you. We weren't sure about who you were when you came to town, but maybe you could help us out with this.
Yeah, if you can smack around Butthole Billy like he's a 5-year-old with a bad attitude, you grew up with no father. so he doesn't know how to act, then everyone's going to think that you're strong enough to save my farm from these orcs or do this or that or whatever, and you're going to get quests, right? So there you go. Social interaction is no joke. The bard is a joke, but general social interaction, no joke.
The other thing to consider with this is, as the game master, you don't want to turn it to the I win button, but you don't want to look as like, so what, you impress, yay, they clap, and then move on. No, there's a reason why you got that one. I mean, it's a 5% chance of getting it. Let it be something good for the characters, even if it's a temporary goodness. So the other ones are easy to understand. You achieve more than you intended. You get more information during an investigation. You do more damage in an attack or whatever. Or the actions perform faster than usual. Hurry, 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 hurry. Hey, you hurried and you got it done. So maybe you can even prepare something else in the meantime, or spend a little extra time focused on doing other preparation instead of this one that you're working on right here. So there's always a benefit for that. Failure. Rolling above your skill level means that your action fails. So, if you got, what did we talk about last week? Base skill for one of Heathen Dog's actions, I think, was 12. So if he rolls a 12 or less, he succeeds. If he gets that 1, he super succeeds. Super Saiyan. But if he rolls a 13 to 19, well, then he fails. Yep. Doesn't get what he wants. For some reason, you do not achieve your goal. Feel free to describe what happens together with the game master. The GM can also let failures have additional consequences to advance the story in an exciting way. Failing forward, baby.
I don't recommend that a lot of times. I mean, if it's for the story, okay. But if you have regular failures have extra consequences too often, the player's gonna be like, okay, well, how come regular successes don't have awesome stuff that comes with it sometimes? I have to roll that 5% to get something extra, but even a regular failure could be something extra bad. That's not fair. So use it sparingly, is what I'm saying.
Gotcha. No standstills. Failure must not stop the story completely. Even when you fail, there must be a way forward, perhaps at the cost of time, risk, or gold, but still a way. This is something that I would argue partially against. If you're
at the end game, sometimes success or failure is a single shot in a game, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're at the buzzer and you're playing basketball and you throw up that half court shot, it either goes in or it doesn't. If it doesn't, you lose. If it does, you win. There's no time left. So if you're at the boss, if you're at the end of the story, this is your shot. You can't fail here. But everywhere before that, the game's actually right. There should be a way to get to the end as long as you have enough money, enough time, or enough ingenuity to make it happen.
So I believe there's always an out for the characters. I also believe that there are multiple ways of tackling a problem, whether it could be combat, sneaking around, or talking your way through it, or avoiding it, whatever. But here's where my issue with this commentary comes in. It's not wrong inherently, but it really lends itself towards that you're running a specific module or you're running a specific railroad, which I don't think is always the right way to run a game. Sometimes things happen. I mean, Heathen Dog's been in a few of my sessions. I've been in some other people's sessions where this isn't what the game master had planned at all, and you got to roll with the punches on that one. Sometimes what you want to do just fails. It just fails. No, you did not defeat the ogre, and you did not get the sword, the treasure that he's holding on to. It just didn't happen.
You failed the puzzle 3 times, and now the puzzle's locked. Well, guess what? Someone wrote an iPhone into your game, and now it's locked for 1,000 years. You got to find another way, man.
Right. So that's the only thing that I want to say as a caution. I'm not against what it says here, especially for something that's like a written module. Or a more railroady adventure. But for something, I don't want to have the people who play more sandboxy games or like me with like I said, I use my timelines to be like, well, no, there isn't always a way forward. The way forward is the fact that you failed and now you got to go do something else. Sorry, you didn't rescue that kitten from the tree. It went splat. And you have to explain that to the little girl or just ignore it. Just walk off. Nothing to see here, whatever. But you've got to move on to something else now. You failed. So anyway. The game master has the final say on the consequences of failure in that particular situation. Poor kitten that fell from a tree. Rolling a demon. Rolling a 20 on a d20 is called rolling a demon. It means that the roll fails regardless of your skill level and other circumstances. So there's always a 5% chance that you just poop the bed.
Yep.
Rolling a demon also means that the roll cannot be pushed, which is an optional rule on page 32. Ooh, we haven't looked at pushing the roll here. Like, we know what it is for the D6 system, but I wonder what it is here. Okay, that's going to be interesting.
This system, I don't know, but I'm not going to guess. We'll just get to it when we get to it.
Okay. Demon rolls can have additional effects in combat and during spell casting. Uh-oh.
That doesn't sound good.
No, it doesn't. If you remember Forbidden Lands, like, oops, I had a mishap. Demon comes in, pulls you back. Hey, make a new character. Outside of combat, the GM can let the demon rolls have effects such as you damage yourself, someone else, or an item. We needed that thing, and you just popped the balloon. What the hell, dude?
I didn't mean it.
You make a fool of yourself in front of everyone around you. Well, now what did you name him?
Social dice, yeah.
Now Butthole Billy not only mugged you, but everybody else has given him their wallets because
everyone saw it. You're a punk, and you have no money. That's what happened when you face Butthole Billy and rolled a 20. Sorry.
Or you make a lot of noise.
If that matters.
Down in front.
Yeah. Oh no. And I'd like to say that when they say stuff like you make a lot of noise, if you roll a 20, any effects of that are supposed to be adverse. They're supposed to be a problem. So if making a lot of noise does not negatively impact you, the game master should pick some other effect.
Right.
Should be negatively impacted. Not horribly, probably, but negatively impacted definitely.
Yep. When no skill seems relevant to the situation, the GM can instruct you to roll against a base attribute instead, a strength roll to lift something heavy, for example. But if there is a skill that covers the action you wish to perform, your roll must be based on that. In unclear cases, the GM decides what is appropriate, and you only have one chance. However, Kat, I keep pushing you off for a reason. You are not getting anything. Once you have rolled the dice, you may not roll again to achieve the same goal. This is across all the Year Zero engine games. You need to try something different. Wait until the circumstances have changed in a substantial way, or let another player character try. The quick example I like to use is climbing. You tried to climb the crevice, and you did not make the roll. You don't get up. What's a way you can change the environment? Hey, I've got this grappling hook. I think you can try now. Okay, that changed the environment. That changed what's going on. Why you didn't use it in the first place? Who knows? But maybe you're showing off.
Tell me he had it in his inventory.
There you go.
You wanted to watch me fall down, Dick.
But just saying, well, I'm going to try on the other side. No, that's not changing the environment, because it makes the assumption that you're smart enough with the climbing skill that you would have found the most optimum spot to do this. You have to change the circumstances. And of course, the rule doesn't apply in combat, because if it did and you missed, combat would be over.
Well, plus the circumstances of combat change every second. So
well, that's fair.
There's an argument for that.
All right, boons and banes. Normally, the game master does not assess how difficult an action is. You only roll the dice in challenging situations, period. Awesome. But sometimes the GM might want to underscore that external factors either help or hinder an action. You might then get a boon or a bane to your roll. In both cases, you roll 2d20, but only one result counts. If you have a boon, the lowest result applies. If you have a bane, the highest result applies. Sorry. If you're used to 5e, a lot of people out there played 5e, it's your advantage, disadvantage system.
Yeah, same thing.
There are also cases where the rules say that you get a boon or a bane. For example, when attacking a prone opponent or shooting at long range. Multiple boons and banes. If you get multiple boons or banes to your roll, roll an additional d20 for each one. That is different than the advantage, disadvantage roll.
Yeah.
However, please note that unless you have a very high skill level, rolls with multiple banes have a very low chance of success. And 2 periods there. Ha! Ha! Some editor didn't do his job. Boop, boop.
Or really wanted to emphasize the end of that sentence.
Boon and bane. Sometimes you might get both boons and banes to your roll. Each boon negates one bane and vice versa. Again, there's a little more Little more than what 5e does. If I remember 5e is either you have advantage, you have disadvantage, or if you have one of each, or you could have 10 of one and one of the other. It doesn't matter. It cancels it all out. That's my understanding. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that. But if you have one boon and one bane, where is it? Make a normal roll. If you have two boons and one bane, it counts as a boon. So basically, you're just adding which one's got more.
Now, as long as this game system doesn't introduce another kind of advantage or disadvantage, I'm cool with this. I hate it when systems have multiple different types of advantage and disadvantage mechanics. Boon and Bane, great. And then you get pluses and minuses to your target number, and then you get a plus D4. I'm like, dude, calm down.
I'm pretty sure this game does have pluses and minuses as well, but I don't know. Obviously, I don't know yet. So, all right, I put the help from others on the screen so somebody can pause and read that. But because we said we weren't going to do optional rules, well, we are going to do an optional rule. And we are going to look at pushing the roll. The reason is because this is very much part of the Year Zero family of games. Now, it's an optional roll. It's in this whole green thing. You don't have to use it. But I'm curious, so we're going to read it. If you fail a skill or attribute roll, you can choose to push the roll, which means that you make another attempt. The new result applies, whatever it is. If you have boons or banes, you must re-roll all dice. You can never push a demon roll. So if you roll a natural 20, there's no pushing. You're not going to do it. You have failed. Deal with it. Whenever you push a roll, immediately after the re-roll, you suffer a condition.
Oh.
This means you get a bane on all rolls for skills based on certain attribute. Now, what does that mean? Let me F11 this thing for a second. If you look at the character sheet on here, and you look under each one of your attributes here, you have a condition. So for strength, you're exhausted. For constitution, you're sickly. Agility, you're dazed. Intelligent, you're angry because you can't think clearly when you're pissed. Willpower, you're scared. And for charisma, you're disheartened, so nobody believes you anyway. So you'll have one of those conditions based on the attribute for the skill, the attribute that you're using. So, and it says it right there. I wanted to show it on the character sheet so you saw it there. And there are other ways to get conditions, which we'll talk about next week anyway.
And conditions cause you to have a bane on any skill associated with that attribute, right?
Anytime you're rolling something for that attribute, yes.
Okay.
So yes, so if your skill is tied to that attribute, yes. So you decide which condition you get from pushing a roll with two important restrictions. You cannot choose a condition you already have. Okay. You must be able to explain how the condition results from the action you're trying to perform. The GM has a right to reject clearly unreasonable explanations.
All right. So, for example, let me throw an example here. I am climbing, and I fail halfway through. I got halfway up, and I'm like, oh crap, I failed. I'm gonna push it. I push through it, and I pull a muscle in my shoulder. The obvious one is exhausted or sickly, strength or con. One of those would be pretty obvious. But if I want to somehow throw it into intelligence, I'm going to have to come up with some really good reasoning behind that for any GM to go, yeah, that sounds okay.
I would tell you that's a good role playing at that point could actually help. You just start cussing up a storm. Mother God, I can't, this stupid, my hands. Now, I'm not saying that automatically works, but I'm saying good role playing could add something to that. Absolutely. Or how does it affect charisma? Man, I can't do this. Just whatever. You give that disheartened thing, which people look at you now. This isn't like Alien, where now you're making it bleed to them as well, but they're going to look at you and be like, well, if he can't do it, all right, whatever. What's our next option? He's just sitting there. My life sucks. There are ways you can do it, but you do have to make a good rationale.
Reasoning effort. Yeah.
All right. So once you have all 6 conditions, you may no longer push your rolls.
Yeah, no kidding.
In addition to their
you're in a sad state too, by the way.
All right. You're angry, disheartened, weak,
everything
sickly.
you do sucks. That's basically it now. Yeah. You suck at everything. Good job.
In addition to their effects, conditions provide inspiration for role-playing. Mark conditions on your character sheet. Healing conditions. You can recover from a condition by resting, and we'll get into that when we do healing next week. NPCs and monsters, only player characters can push rolls.
Okay. Got it.
Now, opposed rolls. This is what happens when Heathen Dog and I arm wrestle each other.
Yep, I'll be back in a sec.
Okay. Sometimes you must beat your enemy in an opposed roll to succeed with an action. This means that both you and your adversary roll dice. Opposed rolls are used sparingly in the game and only when someone is actively opposing you. In combat, it only counts as an action for the active party. So if you're attacking somebody and he's opposing you some way, you're the acting person. You're the one that uses the action. Now, when it comes to his turn, he uses action and you do something to try to resist it, to oppose it. It won't cost you an action because you're allowed to do that. It will cost him the action for the attack. If your roll fails, your action fails as well, regardless of your opponent's roll. Okay. If your roll succeeds while your opponent's fails, your action succeeds. Got it. If both of you succeed with your rolls, your action succeeds if the result of your roll is lower than or equal to your opponent's result. If the opponent's result is lower than yours, you fail. Okay, that's a simplistic. I would do it differently, but that's a simplistic way of doing it. Mine would require a little more math, but okay. Nice, simple way. Whoever rolls lower bet is the guy who gets it. Push rolls. Opposed rolls can be pushed as well, but only if you're the active party. And this is very much in line with all the Free League games. This can be done even after your opponent's roll. Basically, you're like, I want more oomph. Open opposed rolls. The GM can also use opposed rolls in situations where there's no active party. For example, rolling strength against strength to decide the outcome of an arm wrestling match. It's the easiest example to use, to understand opposed rolls, by the way. If both parties fail or both parties succeed and get the same result, or if both parties succeed and get the same result. So basically, if you're arm wrestling, you all get the same result, you can now push your roll. If one succeeds and one fails, only the actor can.
Okay, now I heard you when you were talking about I would have done it differently. There's more math involved. I'm gonna guess exactly what you're talking about because when you said it, I was still in earshot, and I thought the exact same thing. If both of you succeed, what I would do is who succeeded by the most. Yep, I knew you were gonna say that. So because the first thing that comes to mind is someone has a skill of 3 and you have a skill of 19. You roll a 4, that dumbass rolls a 2. Technically, he barely succeeded while your success was so easy to be laughable, and yet he still won. I understand why the game does this, to speed everything along, make it super easy. I get it. I would house rule that, just like I think you would, to where whoever wins by the most wins.
With that said, I'm going to play devil's advocate for just a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Other than speeding up the game, the other argument you could use is, but you had a skill. Well, can't go 19, but you had a skill of 18, which is the max, and he had a skill of 3. The chance of his succeeding were really low anyway, and it makes for more cinematic play. The chance of him even succeeding at all, so the fact that he rolled lower, just let him have it and move on.
Okay, now I counter that with whenever he succeeds, it's by the skin of his teeth and probably luck, whereas you are 100% skill at this point. Even if you get a little unlucky, you still win. If he gets a little unlucky, he loses every time. The quality of the success sometimes is in my mind is going to be the most important factor.
Again, you and I agree on this. I'm just playing devil's advocate because I can understand the other side. So.
Yeah.
All right. The core skills. Now, we are not going to read all of these. Okay. But you can see if I use the character sheet again, because the character sheet actually is set up really well for this. You can see on the left-hand side, I'll zoom in a moment, are the core skills. And then on the right-hand side, you have weapon skills. And then below that, you have secondary skills. So let's just zoom in for just a moment. Let's look at our core skills. I'm not going to read them off. You can look at them on the screen. My guess is that climbing actually comes under bushcraft, but I don't know. Because I don't see another one that it would fall under. there isn't like a movement roll like there isn't a lot of the other. Maybe evade. I don't know.
No.
Acrobatics.
It has to be. No, it has to be based on strength. It's climbing. Because yes, you could make an argument that, you know, your hand-eye coordination is important in climbing, and I agree. But when you're climbing, if you run out of gas halfway up, you didn't make it. You know, I mean, that's the way it is. You have to pull your body weight. So I would guess
we'll see if we can find it here.
Okay.
But you got acrobatics, awareness, bartering, beast lore. If there's anything that sounds interesting, we can stop and look at something. Bluffing, bushcraft. I actually do want to look at bushcraft because it isn't a skilled term that you see a lot.
True.
The vast wilderness is a dangerous place where. What's that? Wilderness
survival, probably.
Yeah, that's my guess. Yeah. Where's the vast wilderness is a dangerous place where the wild beasts roam. The ignorant can lose their lives by choosing the wrong path through the woods or making camp in the wrong spot. Roll for bushcraft to lead the way through the wilderness, make camp, cook food, or stay warm in cold weather. It's very much like the pathfinding ability for Forbidden Lands.
BioKiddo says acrobatics actually says climbing in it.
Does it? When jumping, climbing, there it is. Balancing and performing similar physical action. Roll for this skill. And the thing
went the other way than me, but I get it. Yeah,
so do I. This is one of those that you can use both. I think actually there are games that say choose one, strength or agility. I think Year Zero Engine is almost always goes with the agility side of it. So, but yes, I do agree. There are people like, why is agility a thing? It's a strength-based ability to pull your butt up. It's not a new thing. You can go find games from the 80s and 70s that also said.
I get it. You know, I don't agree, but it's also I understand it's not wrong. It's not wrong. So I'm fine.
Crafting, evade, healing. Ooh, healing. An adventure. As an adventurer, there's a significant risk that you and your friends will be injured sooner or later. Nope. Yeah. That is when healing is useful. With this skill, you can get fallen companions back on their feet or even save lives. Read more on page 50, which will be probably next week. Oh no, healing was up here. What happened? Why did my game just jump a whole bunch of pages? Did you see that?
Yeah. I don't know what you did, but
yeah, I did something apparently.
It punished you.
We'll get to heroic abilities in the next video. So, all right. Sneaky languages, myth and legend, spot hidden, swimming, weapon skills. Okay, let's look at some of these weapon skills. Heathen Dog likes hammers. That's what I'm going with.
Hammer.
Probably not true, but I'm going with it anyway. Used for combat with warhammers and other blunt weapons such as clubs and maces. Okay, that's pretty. So you notice that weapon skills don't really come with anything other than, hey, you know, are you using axes? Are you trying to punch somebody? Shooting a crossbow? Pretty simple.
But in this kind of game, you want to have two weapon skills. You want to have a weapon skill that you're going to use all the time, be it a sword, an axe, crossbow, bow, whatever. And you also want something like hammers because it's the most diverse. Used for combat with warhammers and other blunt weapons such as clubs or maces. Guess what a club is? It's a big stick. There are a lot of big sticks around.
No.
This game does not do that. It has to be a club. It has to be called a club. I don't see. Oh, it's a special skill?
Improvised weapons. I'm actually kind of glad you brought this up. So what we can do here is we can just look at a couple of these. I'll shuffle them. What's that?
Where is it in the book?
I don't know. Probably toward the end. I don't know. It's not here. I haven't read through this book. So you want to use a chandelier as a weapon?
Yeah, you can. Sure. Mar Hockman, shillelagh is European for club. There you go.
So you can swing yourself from a chandelier and perform a melee attack. You can make a normal movement action without triggering free attacks. The melee attack must be unarmed, but cannot be dodged or parried. And if the attack fails, you fall to the ground and take a d6 of bludgeoning damage.
Okay, see, there are a lot of things in those sentences I hate.
Like what?
I'll tell you. What's the skill called?
Well, the skill is improvised weapons.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not saying this.
Stop, please. Stop, please.
No, because I got to clarify what I was saying. I'm not saying there is a skill that says improvised weapon. We haven't seen that yet. These are just improvised weapons.
Sure. Okay. But the chandelier is not an improvised weapon. You didn't use it as a weapon. You used it as a medium to get toward your opponent, to hit them with an actual weapon. That's the one thing I have wrong with that. The other thing is I hate games that have attacks of opportunity. They suck. I hate them. Unless you are specifically saying you are fast moving through an enemy, normal movement should not cause an attack of opportunity, which is what happened when during that thing you just said.
Let's see. Swing yourself from a chandelier, perform melee attack. You can make a normal movement action without triggering free attacks. We'll look at that when we get to combat next week. AD&D Second Edition has attacks of opportunity, right?
Yeah, and I don't use them either.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying, but it's in the game.
Yeah, I didn't say they were wrong. I said I hate them and don't use them.
And they make sense in certain circumstances, which is why I like the way that AD&D Second Edition actually mentions them, because if you just turn tail and run, somebody gets a free attack on you. That actually makes sense. I can show that.
I already caveated that by saying if you are full bore running, then yeah, sure. Someone's going to get to swipe on you. But if a normal movement is careful movement, you should not ever, unless you have major circumstances against you, create some kind of attack opportunity. That's stupid.
They have Boiling Cauldron, a patch of dirt. So patch of dirt is this one I had a quibble with. Throw dirt in the eyes of an enemy within 10 meters. Okay, the enemy suffers D6 damage.
Nope.
What? From dirt? And gets a Bane on all actions for the rest of the combat. I actually get the Bane part. It's not...
Yeah, the Bane part is the part that makes sense, but getting a D6 damage from dirt cannot damage you that much. And
then the attack can be dodged, but not parried. My caveat to that is you should be able to parry
if I have a shield, I can parry it.
Exactly.
Yeah. A shield blocks your whole head. How can you be blinded if you block your whole head? That's dumb.
So the reason why I brought this up, though, isn't because I want to say that, every weapon you use that doesn't exactly have this name. Could a chaired leg be a club? Chances are it's going to be more of a club than it is an improvised weapon. But there are improvised weapons. So one of the things to be careful of is just some random stick out there. Is that going to be a club? I mean, it's not built with any sort of shape on it. Or is it? So is it going to be a hammer, or is it going to be an improvised weapon that's going to, we'll either find out later, or that's going to be up to your game master. I would generally say it's a club, but yes.
Yeah.
So that's it for the skills. Like I said, we're not going to dive too deeply into them. You can see what they are. I've scrolled a couple of times here. Notice that unlike Forbidden Lands, it really does put the survival skills into, well, I guess Forbidden Lands did as well, but it's got the survival skills identified as separate skills in this game, which is one of the reasons why it has more skills. So, and yes, the pedantry in chat, I love it. Next, we're going to be talking about heroic abilities, and there are, I cannot talk, geez. We talked about some of them last week when we went through the character creation process, and now we'll take a look and see what some of them actually are. And then there's obviously the ones that you get with the character classes, and some that you can choose later on. Like, I don't think we saw cat-like, but we'll take a look, bigger look at those in just a little bit. Any chat?
For anything important? No, not really.
Okay.
I mean, everyone was just commenting on, I like how that was worded. I don't like how that was worded, stuff like that. And then there's Kevin Sullivan who wrote a sentence that didn't make sense because
and nobody cares about the Irish
and European because unless I'm wrong, Ireland is in Europe. Unless I'm wrong, it could be in Africa. I don't know.
But nobody cares about the Irish. They have no souls.
Well, Irish people care. So that's somebody.
Are they really people?
I'm not touching that.
All right. Well, then I guess that's going to be it for skills. We are going to... The improvised weapons thing will come up in the combat section more than we're seeing here. And again, if you want to argue like, I was right, the stick would be a club. Nobody cares. Just gonna tell you right now, nobody cares. I just wanted to note that, hey, that there are improvised weapons and there are ways to utilize those, and maybe there is a skill that they fall under. Maybe it's a heroic ability. Maybe it's just something that can happen in combat, and that's why they have those little features on there. We'll get to those when we get to combat, but it's a simplistic game. Don't try to overcomplicate it. But with that, I generally like it. It's too 5e for my taste, but I do generally like what they're trying to sell here. If it's up to me, I would play Forbidden Lands over this, but that's because I like dice pools. But I don't think this is a bad game. Not yet, anyway.